Hello friends, my dear students. Under the program of Raj Shikshan Sanstha, the North region allotted me a topic as per the new syllabus of State Board, that is the origin and evolution of life. I have done this presentation under the guidance of Honorable Principal Dr. K. H. Shinde Sahib, Vice Principal Sau Pokharkar Ma'am and Supervisor Sri Kanirkar Sir. I will try my level best to explain the content of the same chapter. Now let's start the origin and evolution of life. The first, the definition of protobiogenesis. The origin of life on earth is known as protobiogenesis, or the formation of life on earth is known as protobiogenesis. As we know that the living organism shows the growth, metabolism, energy transformation, responsiveness, reproduction and death. These are the basic characters. The different scientists have proposed different theories related to the life originated on earth. The first theory, that is the theory of spatial creation. This theory was proposed by Spanish monk Father Sudrez. According to this theory, the life originated on earth by a supernatural power, mean gods. But this theory is not accepted in word because it is unable to prove scientifically the origin of life on earth. The second theory, that is the theory of panspermia or cosmozoic theory. This theory was proposed by Richter in 1865. According to this theory, life on earth came from a distant planet in the form of spores or microorganisms. It was called cosmozoa or panspermia. The panspermia are preserved inside meteorite, means the barren earth. NASA has reported fossils of bacteria like organisms on a piece of matrium. But again, this theory is also not accepted because it is unable to prove scientifically the origin of life on earth. The next theory, the theory of spontaneous generation or theory of abiogenesis. This theory was proposed by Aristotle in 600 BC. According to this theory, life originated from earth, from the non-living material, and this origination takes place naturally, means the spontaneously. Louis Pasteur disproved this theory and gave scientific explanation that life originated from pre-existing life. But this theory is also the objectionable because it is unable to prove scientifically the origin of life on earth. Next theory, the theory of biogenesis. Francisco Redi, Spallanzani and Louis Pasteur, these three famous scientists, to disprove the theory of abiogenesis. Theory of biogenesis could not explain of a first life on earth but could satisfactorily explain the continuity of life. According to biogenesis, living organisms are always produced from pre-existing living form by reproduction and not from living form or lifeless matter. The next theory, the theory of chemical evolution. According to this theory, life originated on earth by combining several chemicals through continuous chemical reactions takes place in a long period of time. This theory was first formulated by Haeckel. After some time, it was detail explained by Russian scientist Alexander I. Oparin and British biologist J.S.B. Haldane. The Russian scientist Alexander I. Oparin and British biologist J.S.B. Haldane proposed the theory of chemical evolution, and this theory shows the following steps. The first main important step of this theory is the origin of Earth and its primitive atmosphere. The second step, the formation of ammonia, water and methane. In third step, the synthesis of simple organic compounds. Now what happened in the origin of Earth and primitive atmosphere? The origin of Earth is near about 4.6 billion years ago when it was broken from the sun. It was a glowing fire and a rotating cloud of hot gases, vapors of various elements, pieces of rocks and metals called nebulas. This mass of gas exploded with a big bang into several small pieces. The earth itself was broken from the sun. As the earth was moving away from the sun, the temperature slowly decreased, and this leads to the condensation of the metals, condensation of the gases. The heavy elements like nickel, iron, they were formed. The lightest element like helium, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, carbon, they are also get occupied in the atmosphere. The geological condition on the primitive Earth about 3600 million years ago was much different from those found today. The next, the formation of ammonia, water and methane. The prebiotic environment had a very less resemblance with the present day environment. The earth was very hot initially, so the atom could not combine with each other very easily. The primitive earth contained a large amount of hydrogen, nitrogen, carbon and oxygen. Of these, hydrogen was very active. It combined with nitrogen to form ammonia. It combined with oxygen to form water, and it combined with carbon to form methane. As the temperature was high, ammonia and methane remain as gases and water as a steam. As the year pass, the temperature of earth decreases, steam get condensed into water and they are rich in the rain. The formation of the river, streams, lakes, seas and oceans takes place. Compounds like ammonia, methane were dissolved in rainwater and get accumulated in the sea. Thus, the first chemical formed on earth were water, ammonia and methane. Now next, the synthesis of simple organic compounds. In this step, the chemical evolution was the formation of a micromolecule. It is presumed that when the temperature of Earth's surface was considerably cooled down, then the highly reactive radicals, that is CH2, condensed to form a variety of both structural and unstructural hydrocarbons. Under such influence, available energy sources, that is ultraviolet rays, radiations, lightnings and volcanic activities, the early molecules of hydrocarbons, ammonia and water get shows the process of condensation, polymerization, oxidation and reduction reactions. This result into formation of the biological important molecules like monosaccharides, amino acids, purines, pyrimidines, fatty acids and glycerols. In short, in the third step of simple organic compound, there is formation of monosaccharides, amino acids, purines, pyrimidines, fatty acids and the glycerols. Now next, the formation of a complex organic compounds. In this process, The formation of the primitive broth was the neutral and free from oxygen. The polymerization process takes place. Simple organic molecules aggregated to form new complex organic molecules like polysaccharides, fats, proteins, nucleosides, and nucleotides. The polymerization of amino acid formed protoproteins, which later form the protein. The next formation of a nucleic acid. As the nucleotides are get formed, these are nothing but the combination of phosphoric acid, sugar and nitrogenous bases. These nitrogenous bases means the formation of the purines and pyrimidines already takes place. Therefore, the nucleic acid process formation that will be get proceed. The number of nucleotides joined together and to form the nucleic acid means the formation of RNA and formation of DNA takes place. Nucleic acid acquired a self-replicating ability which is a fundamental property of a living organism. Next, the formation of protobions or the pre-cells. The nucleic acid along with inorganic and the organic molecules formed first on the earth and is called the protobionts. The formation of first life on earth is known as a protobionts, and these protobionts are the prebiotic chemical aggregates having the some properties of the living organisms. The protoions are formed due to coacervation, means the aggregation of the organic molecules, and the operin used the term them as a coacervate, and Sidney Fox called them as a proteinoids. The coacervates and microspheres, they were non-living colloidal aggregations of lipids and proteinoids respectively. They had some basic properties of living cell such as growth and cell division. These colloidal aggregations turn into first primitive living system called eubionts or protocells. Now next the formation of a first cell. When RNA or DNA system develop within a protocell, they look like bacteria or viruses. They regulated various metabolic activities. First cell was anaerobic, heterotrophic, and obtained energy by chemoheterotrophic processes. These points are get explained in the chemical theory of evolution. Now, next, how this theory get proved in laboratory. The Urey and Miller, these scientists, they have get proved this theory by setting the apparatus under the controlled maintained condition. Stanley L. Miller and his teacher Harold C. Urey provided the first chemical evidences in support of a chemical evolution theory of operin. They designed a glass apparatus called spark discharge apparatus. This apparatus was first sterilized and evacuated. Methane, ammonia, hydrogen were pumped in proportion of 1 is to 2 is to 1 into the glass chamber. Lightning effect was get by electric discharge carbon arc spark in the chamber. The process of evaporation precipitation was also simulated by the use of heating mantle and condenser respectively. This diagram shows the experimental setup of Urey's and Miller's experiment, and the apparatus used in this diagram, that is the spark discharge apparatus. The Urey and Miller spark discharge apparatus is a closed system of glass, except for tungsten electrode. It has a large spark discharge glass chamber filled with tungsten electrode flask for water boiling, a side tube connected to a vacuum pump, a cooling jacket, and U-shaped trap. The first evacuated the entire apparatus and the firstly get it sterile completely. The proportion of the methane, ammonia, and hydrogen takes place in this apparatus in 1:2:2. Slowly, these gases allowed to pass through the stopcock without allowing air. This was done to create the prebiotic atmosphere. Water in the flask was boiled at a very low temperature to provide the necessary water vapor for the reaction. This was simultaneously the ocean present on primitive Earth. That apparatus or this experimental setup create the primitive atmospheric condition present on the Earth. The high electric spark near about 75,000 volt that tungsten supply they are get provided. The mixture was continuously through electric discharge and this process run near about several days to produce the gases. Now, what are get observed? The scientists get observed in that experiment that the trapped product was get analyzed for its content and they found that a variety of simple organic compounds, especially amino acid and sugars, were formed. Now, the significance of this experiment is that using a spark discharge apparatus, Urey and Miller demonstrated the formation of amino acids, sugars, and other simple organic compounds by recreating the conditions that might have prevailed on the earth in the laboratory. Urey and Miller's experiment provided vital proof that the essential building blocks, nucleotides, amino acids for the first living organism could have been formed on primordial earth. The synthesis of a first protein was probably non-enzymatic. Now next, the RNA hypothesis. Oparin-Haldane theory and Miller-Urey experiment gives us an understanding that the pathway of origin of life on earth from non-living to living, like begets like, necessitates presence of a stable genetic material and cellular machinery to carry out the routine activities essential for survival. We are also aware that a certain proteins, which we called enzyme, catalyze the chemical reactions in the cell. It was in 1980 that Sidney Altman and Thomas Cage independently found that RNAs can act as a biocatalyst. This diagram shows that how the process of RNA hypothesis takes place. These catalytic RNAs are called as ribozymes. For this discovery, Altman Cage earned the Nobel Prize in Chemistry in 1989. This discovery provided important support for RNA world hypothesis. The hypothesis suggests that early life must have been based exclusively on nucleic acid, most probably RNA. It was first proposed by Carl Woese, Francis Crick, and Leslie Orgel in 1960, long before discovery of ribosomes. Fact is that RNA is found abundantly in the living cell. It is structurally related to DNA and chain of RNA can evolve or undergo mutation, replicate and catalyze reaction all support this hypothesis. Beside biomolecules like acetyl-CoA have a nucleotide in their molecular structure, major evidence is existence of ribosome in the cell. In ribosome, translation process is catalyzed by RNA, these molecules might have undergone repeated replication and mutation, forming varieties of RNA molecules with carrying size and catalytic properties. Eventually, they might have developed their own protein codes and machineries to survive the assembly of primitive cell. In due course, a double-stranded stable structure, the DNA, might have been formed and thus continued ongoing journey which resulted in rich biodiversity on Earth. Now next, the process of evolution and the organic evolution theory by Darwin. Organic evolution, it can be defined as a slow, gradual, continuous and irreversible changes through which the present day complex forms of life developed from their simple pre-existing forms. The Darwins was the first, they have explained the theory of organic evolution. Charles Darwin, he was a naturalist, traveled extensively the world over from the 20th December 1831 to 1836 and returned to England. Darwin's theory is based on five main postulates. The first is the overproduction, second, struggle for existence, third, organic variations, fourth, natural selection, fifth, origin of new species. First, overproduction. It is the natural tendency to produce more number of progeny in a geometric ratio for perpetuation of the species means the survival of the species. He observed prodigally the potential many species of plants and animals. The examples, suppose the salmon fish produce about 28 lakh egg in a single season, but it is impossible to survive each and every egg due to the natural condition. In a span of 750 years, a single pair of elephants are able to produce 19,000 elephants, but actually these numbers are unable to survive in nature. The size of a given species in a given area remains relatively constant because of fluctuations that occur seasonally. Next, the struggle for existence. Tendency of overproduction leads to the struggle for existence between the number of population for limited supply of food or to overcome adverse environmental condition or for a space to escape from enemies. In a struggle for existence, there are three types, that is the intraspecific struggle, interspecific struggle and environmental struggle. The intraspecific struggle shows the competition takes place between the same species. For example, the competition between two horse, two deer for getting the same food. The interspecific struggle is nothing but the competition takes place between the organisms, they are different. For example, the horse and deer, they are showing the competition between the same food. Environmental struggle is nothing but the struggle of all living forms against the adverse environmental condition like cold, drought, earthquake, storm, volcanic eruptions, etc. Now next, the organic variations. The variations speak for all kind of differences that occur in morphology, physiology, nutrition, habit, behavioral pattern. Darwin recognized that these variations as a raw material for evolution. Variations were observed among members of the same species and even in different species. Next is the natural selection. Organic variations can serve as evidences that for the some organisms have better adapted to survive under existing environmental conditions than the others. In the struggle for existence, organisms with favorable variations are selected by nature while those with unfavorable variations are selected by nature. According to Darwin, the principle by which useful variations are preserved by nature and called as a natural selection. H. Spencer named this process as the survival of the fittest. Means the organisms provided with the favorable conditions they are get survive, and the organisms with unfavorable condition they are unfit to survive, they perish, means they are get at the stage of the extinction. Now next, the origin of a new species. Favorable variations are transmitted from generation to generation. Successive generations become better adapted to the environment. Slowly, these adaptations with few modifications become fixed in the life cycle and finally giving rise to the new species. Now, drawbacks and objections of this Darwinism. Darwin considered a minute fluctuating variation as a principal factor which are not heritable and not part of evolution. He did not distinguish somatic and germinal variation and considered all variations are heritable, but he are unable to explain the process of heredity. He unable to explain the arrival of the fittest. He explained only the survival of the fittest. He also did not explain the cause of origin and inheritance of variations and of vestigial organs. He also unable to explain the extinction of the species. He also unable to explain the existence of natural flowers and the sterility of hybrids. Now next theory, that is the theory of mutation. This theory was proposed by scientist Hugo de Varies in 1901. He proposed this theory and he have done the experiment on a plant, that is the evening primrose or 4 o'clock plant or the Oenothera lamarckiana. He observed 7 generations of the same plant. He observed most of the offspring showed similarities with their parents in many characters, and some of the offspring shows the appearance of sudden or spontaneous variations which is clearly different from phenotypic expression of the parent. These sudden variations were called the mutation, and this mutation is nothing but it is the inheritable change. He noted that these sudden changes are inheritable and the process of mutation takes place in this plant. This diagram shows the flower and the other branches shows the produced flower having the different colors, means the natural color of the flower that will automatically get changed without hybridization, means the mutation takes place. Objection of this mutation theory. Variations observed by Hugo de Varies were actually due to chromosomal aberrations. Rate of mutation is very slow as compared to the requirement of evolution. The chromosomal aberrations have little significance in evolution as they are quite unstable. Next, the modern synthetic theory of evolution. R. Fisher, J. S. P. Haldane, D. Zobzhansky, J. Huxley, A. Mayer, Simpson, Srebins, Fisher, Swale, Wright, Mendel, T. H. Morgan. These scientists are the main contributors of the modern synthetic theory of evolution. This theory is divided into 3 main concepts. First, genetic variation, second, natural selection, and third, isolation. Now, first, the genetic variation. The changes in a gene and gene frequencies is known as a genetic variation. The genetic variation, it takes place due to the factors like gene mutation, means the sudden change in gene. That change it takes place in gene in chromosome number, and if the mutation occur within a single gene is called point mutation or gene mutation. This leads to change in the phenotype of the organism, causing is called inversion. Genetic recombination. In sexually reproducing organisms, during gamete formation, exchange of genetic material takes place between the non-sister chromatids of a homologous chromosome is called the crossing over. That concept is already studied in the 11th standard, how the crossing over takes place in a homologous chromosome that produces new gametic combination which results in variation. Fertilization between opposite mating gametes leads to various recombinations resulting into phenotypic variations that cause change in the frequencies of alleles. Gene flow. It is the movement of genes into or out of the population. Gene movement may be in the form of migrations of organisms or gamete or segment of DNA. Genetic drift. Any random fluctuation in allele frequency occurring in the natural population by pure chance is called genetic drift. It is an important factor for evolutionary change. Now let's see the chromosomal aberrations. The structural morphological change in chromosome due to rearrangement is called chromosomal aberrations. These chromosomal aberrations shows the deletion, duplication, inversion and translocation. In the deletion, there is a loss of genes from chromosome. In duplication, there is a addition or the same gene get repeated. In inversion, a particular segment of a chromosome is broken and get reattached to the same chromosome in an inverted position in 180-degree twist. There is a no loss or no gain of a gene complement of the chromosome. Translocations. Transfer of a part of chromosome or a set of a gene to a non-homologous chromosome is called translocation. This diagram shows the firstly deletion. The segment is get deleted. Here insertion. In third diagram, the duplication means the segment is get repeated, inversion and translocation. Now the natural selection. According to Darwin, natural selection is the main driving force behind the evolution. This hold that genetic variations rise within the population. The fittest will be at the selective advantage and will be more likely to produce offsprings than the rest as the fit continues to enjoy greater survival and reproductivity. New species will eventually evolve. Alternatively, natural selection is the process by which better adapted organisms grow and produce more number of offspring in the population. It brings about evolutionary changes by favoring differential reproduction of the genes that bring about changes in gene frequency from one generation to next generation. Selection against harmful mutation leads to mutation balance in which allele frequency of harmful recessive remain constant from generation after generation. Natural selection encourages those genes or traits that assure highest degree of adaptive efficiency between population and its environment. Industrial melanism, it is one of the best example of a natural selection. This diagram shows how these moths color they are get developed due to the process of natural selection. Next, isolation is the separation of a population of a particular species into smaller unit which prevents interbreeding between them. Some barriers which prevent gene flow or exchange of genes between isolation population is called isolating mechanism. Number of isolating mechanisms are operated in nature and therefore divergences and speciation may occur. The isolation mechanism is of two types. The species isolation takes place or the population is get separated due to the geographical barriers, geographical isolation, and second is the reproductive isolation. In geographical isolation, it is also called as a physical isolation. It occurs when an original population is divided into two or more groups by geographical barriers such as river, ocean, mountains, glaciers, etc. These barriers prevent interbreeding between isolated groups. The separated groups are exposed to different kinds of environmental factors. They acquired new traits, means characters, by mutations. The separated populations develop distinct gene pool and they do not interbreed. Thus, new species have been formed by geographical isolation. Example, Darwin's finches. Reproductive isolation. The reproductive isolation occurs due to change in genetic material, gene pool, structure of genital organs. It prevents the interbreeding between population. It is of two types. First, pre-mating or pre-zygotic isolating mechanism and second, post-mating or post-zygotic barriers. In a pre-mating or pre-zygotic isolating mechanisms, the habitat isolation, seasonal isolation, ethological isolation, and mechanical isolation. In habitat or ecological isolation, members of a population present in the same geographic region but occupy separate habitat so that potential mates do not meet. Members of the seasonal isolation in the same geographic region but are sexually mature at different year or different time of the same year. Ethological isolation due to specific mating behavior of members of population unable to mate. Mechanical isolation members of two population have differences in the structure of reproductive organs. Next, post-mating or post-zygotic barriers. First, gamete mortality. Gametes have a limited lifespan due to one or other reason. If the union of the two gametes do not occur in the given time, it results in the gamete mortality. Second, zygote mortality. Here, egg is fertilized but zygote dies due to one or the other reasons. Hybrid sterility. Hybrids develop to maturity but become sterile due to failure of proper gametogenesis. The example is of that hybrid sterility is nothing but the mule, and this mule is nothing but it is the combination of the horse and donkey. The natural selection, it is the process by which better adapted individual with useful variations are selected by nature and leave greater or more number of progenies. There are three types: the stabilizing selection, directional selection, and disruptive natural selection. First, stabilizing selection. The maximum individual of population acquired a mean character value. Here, the less variations are observed in this stabilizing selection. It does not lead to evolutionary change but tend to maintain phenotypic stability within the population. Means the phenotypic characters of the populations remain same from generation to generation. This population is adapted to the environment. The second, directional population. In this type, more individuals acquired value other than the mean character value. Natural selection acts to eliminate one of the extremes of the phenotypic range and favor the other. In this selection, operates for many generations, it results in an evolutionary trend within a population and shifting a peak in one direction. Third, disruptive natural selection. In this type, more number of individual acquired peripheral character value at both ends of the disruptive curve. Two peaks are formed in this destruction of a trait. This kind of selection is a very rare. It ensures that the effect on the entire gene pool of population considering all mating types or systems. Now next, the Hardy-Weinberg principle. It is also known as the Hardy-Weinberg law. This law states that equilibrium point both the gene frequency and genotype frequency remain constant from generation to generation. It can be expressed by an equation that is p square plus 2pq plus q square equal to 1. This graphical representation shows that how the hybrids they are get crossed with each other and how the next offsprings are get produced and in which ratios. Next, adaptive radiation. These examples they are showing the Darwin's finches, the Australian marsupials. The process of evolution which result in transformation of original species to many different varieties is called adaptive radiation. This diagram shows the Darwin's finches. Now next, the main point, that is the process of organic evolution. There are 4 steps have given how the process of organic evolution takes place and which are the proofs. The 4 evidences are get considering in the process of evolution. The first is the paleontological evidence, second anatomical evidence, embryological evidence, and the fourth one is the molecular evidence. Now let's start the paleontological evidences. The paleontology is nothing but the study of the fossil records. This paleontology shows the presence of the ancient plants, animals, organisms present on the earth, and study of these animals from the previous, they are called as the paleontology. In short, the study of fossil or the branch of the science which deals with the study of a fossil is known as a paleontology. There are the types of the fossils, that is the first actual remains, second molds, cast and the compressions. In the first type of fossil, the animal, plant or human body is get embedded. Performs of the Arctic or alpine snow remain preserved in the actual state. The second type is the mold. The body part of animal, plant get decayed, but impressions still and become permanent. Though these animal, plant are not present, they will be get completely destroyed, but their impressions in the just like the fingerprints, they are still present at that site. Cast, they are hardened piece of mineral matter deposited in the cavities of the mold. Compression, internal structure is absent but a thin carbon film indicates the outline of an external feature. Suppose the TS of the stem. Here we cannot observe the cellular details, but these outline they are showing the size of the stem, size of the plant, means they are showing the compressions. Now the significance of the paleontology. It is useful in construction of phylogeny. Second, it is useful to study various forms and structures of extinct animals. Third, it provides a record of a missing link between two groups of organisms. It helps in study of a habitat of extinct organisms. Now the connecting link. The meaning of connecting link is nothing but these are the fossils from the transitional or intermediate. between the two group of the organism, or the two different groups of organism, they are showing the some characters and they are indicating they are the evolutionary line. For example, Simoria. They are the showing the characters between the amphibians and the reptiles. The Archaeopteryx showing the characters of the reptiles as well as the birds. The reptilian characters and the avian characters means, suppose the example is the Archaeopteryx, and these birds they are showing which characters are observed. Here in reptilian, the presence of long tail, claws and scales on the body, and in avian, the feathery exoskeleton. In reptilian character, single-headed ribs. In avian characters, forelimbs are modified into wings. The jaws with homodont teeth, and in avian characters, jaws are modified into beak. Sternum without keel, large rounded cranium. Bones are solid. Cranium with large orbit and single condyle. Hind limbs had 4 clawed digits showing the reptilian characters. Limbs bones are bird-like. Hind limbs with 4 toes. First toe is opposable, showing the avian characters. Now next are the anatomical evidences. It deals with the study of external structures, while anatomy deals with the study of the internal structures. In this anatomical evidences from comparative study, it takes place, morphological study takes place, and in this the as per the 3 different status are get formed as per the study of the organs. From the comparative study of morphology and anatomy, the evolutionary aspect, they are showing how these organs are get formed. The homologous organs, analogous organs, and third are the vestigial organs. Now A, the homologous organs. The homologous organs are those organs which are structurally similar but functionally different. For example, forelimbs of vertebrates such as lizard, bird, bat, horse, whale, and man. Vertebrates of brain and heart. And the same example takes place of the homologous organs in plants, that is the horns of bougainvillea and tendrils of cucurbita. This diagram shows the homologous organs, means those organs they are structurally similar but functionally different. The analogous organs are those organs which are structurally dissimilar but functionally similar. Wings of butterfly example, or the bird looks superficially alike but there are no anatomical similar structure through they perform the same function. The most of the birds they are having the wings and they are having the same function, that is they are used these wings for the flying purposes and they are showing the different structure. Eyes of the octopus of mammals, they differ in their retinal position, structure of lens and origin of different eye parts. The flippers of the penguin birds and dolphins having the same function but different structure. In plants, sweet potato and the potato shows the root modification and stem modification but having the same function, that is both are get store the food material in the form of starch. This diagram shows the analogous organs, means the wings of the different birds and flies. They are used for the flying purpose but having the different structure. The vestigial organs are imperfectly developed and non-functionless degenerate structures which were functional in some related and other animals or in ancestors. The vestigial organs are no longer required by the organism but indicate the relationship with those organisms. For example, the presence of the nictitating membrane on the eyes, presence of wisdom teeth, coccyx, tailbone still present in human being. These diagrams shows the presence of vestigial organs, means those organs at the line of evolution they are still present on the man, on the animal, but they don't have any major role or function in their body. The vermiform appendix and the cecum. It is also the vestigial organ. It is functional in herbivorous mammal for digestion of the cellulose. In the man, due to eating of cooked food, it has lost its function. Now the embryological evidences. When a comparative study of the development in different sexually reproducing organisms is made, it is observed that the development pattern during early stages is similar in all organisms, suggesting a common origin. Development in sexually reproducing organisms begins from a single diploid cell stage, that is a fertilized egg or zygote. Zygote undergoes cleavage, blastulation, and the gastrulation stages. At the end of gastrulation, three germ layers are formed which give rise to various organs and organ systems. Embryos of different vertebrates, that is, from fishes to mammals, look alike particularly with reference to gill slit, gill cleft, and tail. This diagram showing the different stages of the development of embryo and the similarities between them. Next, the molecular evidences. Cell is the structural functional unit of life of the living organism. Similarities in proteins and genetic material perform a similar function among diverse organisms. They give the evidences of a common ancestry. Basic metabolic activities also occur in a similar manner in all organisms. And as we know that the ATP is the currency or the source of all living organisms. These are the four evidences in origin. That is the now next speciation. The process of a formation of a new species from pre-existing species is called speciation. The species is a group of similar organisms that can interbreed and produce a fertile offspring in nature. There are two types. The first is the intraspecific speciation and second interspecific speciation. In intraspecific speciation, again allopatric speciation and sympatric speciation. In the allopatric speciation, formation of a new species due to separation of a segment of a population from the original population by distance or geographical barriers, that is the rivers, mountains, lakes, and due to that the species they are get changed. Sympatric speciation, the formation of species within a single population without geographical isolation. These are formed due to reproductive isolation. Chiseled species in Lake of Victoria. This diagram is a self-explanatory, showing in first diagram the allopatric speciation and in second diagram the sympatric speciation. The geographic barriers are responsible in the allopatric speciation, but in sympatric speciation the organism itself unable to reproduce or get separated due to some reason and the new species they are get formed. B. Intraspecific speciation, in that hybridization. The two different species on crossing may give rise to new species. The same example already is shown, that is the how mule it get formed. This mule is nothing but the hybrid, and this hybrid is get produced by interbreeding between the male donkey and the female horse. This diagram they are showing the mule, and it get produced by crossing by taking the hybrid process between the male donkey and the female horse. Now next, the geological time scale. This geological time scale means nothing but here the total lifespan of the earth from the time of its origin is called the geological time. The crust of earth consists of layers of rock laying one above the other. These layers or strata are formed by sedimentation or deposition of material. The age of rock is determined by using a radioactive dating technique. The geologists have considered geological time into several intervals which are characterized by significant events that occurred in the organization of organism. The major divisions of geological time are called era. The eras are divided into periods, and each period is divided into epoch. These eras, periods, and epochs are arranged on the time scale in an order of their age, and this arrangement is called geological time scale. By studying fossils in the earth crust, the evolutionary changes in the organism have been traced out. The various eras they are get observed, that is the Azoic, Archaeozoic, Proteozoic, Paleozoic, Mesozoic, and Cenozoic. These are the major eras are get noticed or get explained in geological time scale. And in period, here the Cambrian, Ordovician, Silurian, Devonian, Carboniferous, Permian. In Mesozoic era, Triassic period, Jurassic period, Cretaceous period, and in Cenozoic era, the Tertiary period and the Quaternary period is get shown. In epoch, here the Archaeozoic, Proteozoic, Paleozoic, and Mesozoic era they are not showing the epoch, but the Cenozoic period or the Cenozoic era they are showing the epoch, that is the Paleocene, Eocene, Oligocene, Miocene, Pliocene, Pleistocene, and the recent. In this recent, the now the modern man is get survived. This diagram in detail you are showing in which era, in which period, in which epoch the which organism is get evolved and how much time that organism is get survived on the earth surface, and he will be get extinct or this get degenerated from the previous atmospheric condition. Due to the climatic change, the automatically the species they are get degenerated because they are unable to survive in the climatic changes. Now the classification of mammals. Here this diagram shows or the classification chart. The classification of mammals means indirectly the how the human being is get evolved, and this flow chart is showing the human evolution. Here the total mammalia is divided into marsupials, monotremes, and eutherians. Now the eutherian is divided into order primate, again subdivided into order prosamae and anthropoidea. These prosamae are divided into lemurs and tarsiers. These suborder Anthropoidea is divided into New World monkeys, Old World monkeys, and Hominoid. Now again these Hominoid means they are get divided into Halobacteridae, Pongidae, and Hominoidae. And in this group of Hominoidae, the human being is get evolved. Now this chart shows the evolution, means in which stage the which human being is get evolved, and they are showing their different characters. The different animals, that is the Dryopithecus, Ramapithecus, Australopithecus, Homo habilis, Homo erectus, Neanderthal man, and last Homo sapien man. These animals shows and their the characters as per the appearance, means where they are formed, how they look like, the site of the fossil record of these each animal, where these animals they are get formed, in which period of the geological time scale they will be get survived, their skeletal features, their body posture, their cranial capacity, means the grasping power, and the spatial features, if any, is get available. The in this chart the Homo sapien is showing the maximum cranial capacity, and therefore this Homo sapien is nothing but the modern man having the highest cranial capacity. This diagram is showing how the human evolution takes place. So, in this chapter, I will try to discuss about the points in the origin and evolution of the life. Thank you.